Can you add CarPlay to your Tesla? The answer might surprise you. Yes. Yeah, you actually can, kind of. And in this video, I'm going to show you a couple of ways you can actually add CarPlay and Android Auto to your Tesla. But before we get into that and how you can do it, I think we got to answer the question as to why you'd want to do it. Because I think most people see Teslas as tech-packed, they're forward-thinking, they're always getting software updates. Why in the world would you want to add CarPlay or Android Auto to these vehicles? Aren't they perfect as they are? Well, they're close to perfect, but no, they're not perfect, not by a long shot. So yeah, there's no denying that Teslas are packed with technology on the inside and out. They are some of the most advanced cars on the road. They're some of the most high-tech cars you can drive today. And there is, of course, many, many things to love about Teslas. And the infotainment system is great in these cars. It's minimal, it's sleek, it's fast, it's pretty feature-rich, and there is a lot you can do with this system. And better yet, it's really great to see the integration between Tesla's hardware and Tesla's software really kind of shine with this system and software package on the vehicle. Kind of like Apple. They make the hardware, they make the software that runs on that hardware, and because one company does both things, usually the implementation of it is pretty fantastic, and the integration between the two is basically seamless and really, really great. But the Tesla infotainment system, as great as it is, does have some shortcomings and some big ways it can be improved. Example, one of the biggest issues I hear from many owners is that Tesla does not have enough audio streaming options built into the car. Remember, for the longest time, there was no Spotify. There was just TuneIn and Stitcher, or Slacker, I think it's Stitcher, is built into the car, and that was it. There was no Spotify, there was no third-party streaming option. That was kind of it. And yes, Tesla has adopted Spotify, though that has its own quirks, and you have to use premium and stuff like that. Though it is there, it's really nice to see, but many people would like more options. People would love to see Pandora, Apple Music, Tidal, even just SiriusXM. Many people love to listen to satellite radio, and there's just no official way to do it in cars like the Model 3 and the Model Y. And I think even with newer Model S's and X's that Tesla is building, there's no FM option with those vehicles as well. So Tesla is definitely limiting the amount of audio sources and the amount of streaming services you can use in the car, and it kind of is making a lot of owners very frustrated. Of course, yes, you can stream anything over Bluetooth, or if you want to plug in your own media over USB, you can do that as well. But many people think that for a car so focused on tech and so feature-packed, that they've got to have more options in terms of streaming audio, and many people would love to see just more options come to the Tesla infotainment system. And an easy way that Tesla could fix this, obviously, would be to implement something like CarPlay, because with CarPlay, you have apps, and those apps can be any streaming service that the user would want to use. You could use Audible for audiobooks, different podcast apps like Overcast, of course, Pandora, Tidal, all of these streaming music options you'd want to have would be built into something like a CarPlay or an Android Auto. So being able to interface with that within your Tesla would give you access to all of the different streaming services you'd want to use, and you wouldn't be limited on just what Tesla decides to allow or not to allow. Another advantage to using something like CarPlay is that it has much better implementation of messages and text message support. You can love Siri or you can hate it, but it does do a much better job of message dictation and reading back messages than what Tesla does first party. Yes, Tesla is making strides. It's really cool to see that they are implementing messaging into the Tesla software itself, but it doesn't do very well with group messages, and it kind of gets confused on different verbiage, and it's not the best way to send and receive messages in your car. Yes, it's really nice that it's there and it does work, but obviously I think many people would agree that CarPlay or Android Auto would do a much, much better job of handling messages. So being able to use one of those systems and kind of piggyback on that into the broader kind of Tesla infotainment system would allow for messaging to be much, much better. Sending and receiving, do not disturb, group messages would all be so much better if you were to use something like Apple CarPlay. And speaking of Siri, another cool perk of using something like Apple CarPlay would be to be able to use a virtual assistant, or Android Auto, or if you used Alexa Auto, you could use Alexa. Just having access to a virtual assistant inside of your car would be super nice. To check the weather, to send an email, just to have access to a virtual assistant would be nice. Tesla kinda has a virtual assistant. Well, the car can, I guess, kind of interpret commands and execute those commands, but it's not by far at all the same as having a virtual assistant from one of the big tech companies built into your car. So being able to have CarPlay or Android Auto would give you access to a virtual assistant, apps, better messaging. There's just a lot of upside with going with one of these systems and kind of combining it with the great work that Tesla has done, but also being able to kind of fix a lot of its shortcomings by adopting one of these third-party systems. So I think those are the main advantages of a CarPlay or Android Auto system inside of Tesla. Not to get rid of Tesla's infotainment system, but to kind of put in CarPlay or Google Android Auto to kind of fill the void and to fix some of Tesla's shortcomings. You'd have better messaging support, you'd have access to a virtual assistant, you'd have better app support for streaming audio, and even I guess video too if you wanted to do that as well. There's just a lot of cool ways that you could harness the power of CarPlay inside of Tesla by allowing users to have access to it. So now that you know what it does and how it could help, how do you actually install it into your car? Is it possible? So first, let me start with the easiest method that's not going to require any additional hardware, though it is a paid option that costs a couple of bucks in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. It is the Tesla Mirror app. I will link it down below, but essentially what this app does is it mirrors your phone screen onto your Tesla's large display through a combination of kind of ad hoc Wi-Fi networks and video HTTP streaming. I'm not exactly sure the magic of how this is working and how it's happening, but it does actually work inside of your Tesla. So for example, here you can see I'm mirroring my iPhone screen wirelessly from my iPhone 12 Pro to my Model 3 center display. This works through the browser, so basically you browse to the IP address, but there's my phone, it's streaming what I see on the display, and I'm able to pull up things like Waze and be able to have Waze going as I drive, basically just mirrored off my phone's display. And this actually does work. It's not perfect, the frame rate isn't great, but this does work if you wanted to pull up Waze, for example, and have a different routing system. Or if you wanted to use the native Google Maps app, you could do that as well. This is a great way to have access to those different third-party mapping apps inside of your Tesla just by wirelessly streaming it from your phone. The next step up from this would be some kind of mounting option for a tablet or a phone for CarPlay. There are a couple of different mounts you can get for tablets for your Model 3, Model Y, S, and X off of Amazon. I'll leave some links to some down below that kind of allow you to have that tablet in your peripheral vision, but that doesn't really solve the problem because just having your phone mounted is not the same as having CarPlay, or having a tablet with an iPad is not the same as having CarPlay either. So is there a way you can mount a tablet but also get all the features of CarPlay or Android Auto? The answer to that is surprisingly yes. Yes, there is. We actually did a full run through of this project over on the John Rettinger channel, where John kind of breaks down how this works and how you can basically turn a really cheap Kindle Fire tablet into a CarPlay monitor. I'll leave links to that video down below, but essentially this is kind of the perfect implementation for this system. Basically, you can connect your phone to this tablet with a USB cable, and it will basically trick the tablet into thinking it's a CarPlay monitor. So you're able to kind of use that touchscreen to interact with CarPlay, you can launch apps, you can do everything you would do with CarPlay through this tablet. So if you wanted to have a little CarPlay display adjacent to the main display in your Model 3 or your Tesla in general, you can do this. Of course, I'm not speaking to the legality of this. I'm not going to talk about rules or regulations depending on where you are around the world. So make sure you do your due diligence and check on that and, you know, use your discretion. And I'm just giving this for educational purposes. But yes, you can actually do this, and you can basically trick a tablet into becoming a full CarPlay or Android Auto screen. So if you wanted to have the benefit of a full screen that you could interact with and use Waze and Apple Maps and Spotify and different streaming services, you can do that all through this little project that actually would work quite well inside of a Tesla. And then last but certainly not least are these aftermarket units that you can actually install inside of your Tesla that are basically, I think, little Android tablets or computers that basically allow you to do the same thing and run CarPlay inside of your Tesla, but this is a much more permanent solution. I'm going to show some videos you're obviously seeing right now from other Tesla YouTube channels that are actually really impressive. There has sort of started to become this rise of these aftermarket displays that really implement really nicely into Teslas and their dashboards, but allow you to have full control over the speedometer and you can see different elements of the car, but also have access to a full-blown CarPlay system as well. These do have to be wired in, so you have to pay for the unit and you got to wire it all in, and it's a little bit more of a hassle. But when you do get it implemented, I think you can actually use some of these systems with the built-in scroll wheels to navigate, so you're not having to touch. It seems a lot more seamless. It kind of seems like it's built into the car and gives you full access to these other systems. I'm going to leave some links to some videos that kind of detail this in depth down below, but these are an option if you're willing to pay for it and willing to put in the time to install it. You can get some really nice high-end looking CarPlay systems really built in and installed into your Tesla. But obviously for many people, they don't even want CarPlay or Android Auto. They just want Tesla to finally build an app store. It's been rumored for a while. We've heard Tesla could do this, but Tesla just needs to kind of build some kind of SDK and API for developers to tie into to be able to use inside of their cars. Don't even do anything crazy that could compromise the safety or the security of Teslas, but just allow Pandora, Apple Music, and Tidal to write their own app. Allow Audible to write their own Tesla app, and let SiriusXM write a Tesla app so SiriusXM subscribers can use their streaming service inside of their car. If Tesla could just open this up to even just a small handful of trusted partners, it would be super nice and would alleviate a lot of the frustrations people have with the Tesla infotainment system. It's nice, it's sleek, it's beautiful, it works well, but it is limited. And opening up the Tesla ecosystem a bit to some kind of app store or allowing developers who are trusted to develop third-party apps for streaming music and for podcasts and for audio streaming would be really nice to see. Or better yet, just allow Android Auto or CarPlay to run somehow alongside the Tesla software, whether that's windowed or whether it's some special implementation, just allowing these software packages to integrate into the system and kind of help alleviate some of the shortcomings of the current Tesla infotainment system would be super nice to see. Tesla's great, they're doing amazing things, everybody loves the software, but there are some shortcomings that could be easily fixed if Tesla was to give up a little bit of control and either open up an app store or allow Apple and Google a little bit of access just to display their car infotainment system alongside Tesla's inside of that massive, beautiful 15-inch display. So what do you guys think? Does CarPlay or Android Auto on a Tesla make sense? Would you use any of these methods to be able to have Waze on your Tesla or stream music from a non-premium Spotify account on your car or Audible? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this below. Would you rather have CarPlay or Android Auto, or would you rather have an app store on Tesla, or both? Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I will see ya in the next one.